During winter break of 2015, I resided in a townhome approximately 10 minutes away from my college. For context, I am a female who lived with 4 other girls whom I had met during my first 2 years in the campus dormitories. All of my roommates had gone back home for the break, leaving me alone. Although I had an internship that required me to stay in town, I didn't mind since flights back home were exorbitantly expensive during that time of the year. Initially, everything was fine, and I managed to get a lot of work done. However, things started getting strange after a while. At the start of the previous semester, we had met a guy around our age who lived in one of the townhomes across the street. I assumed he went to the same college as us, but I never asked him. He always acted strangely and made us feel uneasy whenever he attempted to converse with us while we walked outside to our cars. 1 month into the semester, he approached me, visibly nervous, and requested my number. I was hesitant to give it to him, but since he appeared to have mustered up a lot of courage, I gave him my Snapchat username instead. After a few days, I regretted my decision. His Snap score was 0, which indicated that he had created the account solely to add me. Some of the messages he sent me were disturbing and downright creepy. For instance, he sent me pictures of my bedroom window at night, claiming that he was about to embark on a late-night jog. He also sent a photo of the campus and inquired whether I was in class and which building I was in. Moving forward to winter break, he continued to send me such snaps. What freaked me out the most was that he picked up on the fact that I was alone at home and kept sending me pictures of only my car parked in front of our townhome. One night, while I was sound asleep, I was jolted awake by the Snapchat notification sound. I reached for my phone on the nightstand and saw that it was him. I opened it, but it was just a black screen. I was a bit annoyed and went to the chat to ask him not to send me snaps so late at night. As I began typing, I heard a buzz, and after I sent the message, I heard another one. It sounded like it was coming from near me, and then his Bitmoji popped up in the chat, and he started typing. He apologized, saying he didn't mean to wake me up, but I was too preoccupied with the perfectly timed buzzing sounds to respond. So I asked him where he was. His Bitmoji sat there for a whole minute before he began typing something, but then he stopped and left the chat. My heart was racing, and I didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure if it was a good idea, but then I immediately video called him on Snapchat. Constant buzzing sounds emanated from under my bed. I got up and ran out of my room toward the front door. From there, I sprinted to the nearest gas station, and out of breath, I explained to the on-duty cashier what had just happened. He called the police for me, and they arrived after 5 minutes while I continued to receive a barrage of Snapchat messages. Initially, they were pleading with me not to call the cops, but they gradually became more and more aggressive with each one. In the final message, he threatened to kill me. I showed the messages to the police, and they searched the house. After a few minutes, they found him hiding in one of my roommate's closets. They handcuffed him and took him out to the back seat of their patrol car. He was drenched in sweat and shot me multiple looks in my direction. That night, I texted my roommates, and we agreed to cancel our lease early. Within the month, we had all moved into a house that was 25 minutes away. I don't know what happened to him, and I never followed up on his case. I have since stopped using Snapchat. This incident occurred while I was chatting with my friend Anna on Snapchat. As a 14-year-old freshman in high school, I was prepping for a major test the following day when Anna and I started exchanging snaps. As our conversation began to lose its spark, Anna sent me a snap of herself in her room, but without any caption. I responded by ranting about my unpreparedness for the exam and inquiring about what she was up to. She replied with another photo that showed her homework and the caption, "At least you don't have a group project due tomorrow that we've barely started on." As I analyzed the image, I noticed something peculiar in the background, a shadowy figure standing in the corner of the room. In a state of alarm, I messaged Anna asking if anyone else was present with her. However, she replied saying that she was home alone. Despite my growing fear, I tried not to alarm her and instead messaged her that I needed to focus on studying for the test. She read the message but didn't respond. I became increasingly worried and regretted not screenshotting the snaps to scrutinize them more carefully. I called her repeatedly, but she didn't answer, and my texts went unanswered as well. In a state of panic, I decided to go to her house, which was only a 3-minute bike ride away. When I arrived, I saw that most of the lights were on in the house, but Anna still didn't answer my calls. As I was about to give up and leave, I noticed that her bedroom window was slightly ajar. I came across a screwdriver lying on the ground and used it to climb onto the roof, where I peered through Anna's bedroom window. I saw the shadowy figure once again, this time standing closer to her bed. I knew I had to act quickly and entered the room. Tackling the figure, who turned out to be an older man much larger than myself. Before he could overpower me, I managed to jab the screwdriver into his left shoulder, causing him to scream in agony as he jumped out of the window and ran away, clutching his shoulder. I searched the room but didn't find Anna, so I called out to her and received a response from the kitchen downstairs. I explained what happened to her, and we immediately called the police using her phone. The police found a blood trail leading a few yards down the sidewalk before disappearing, indicating that the man may have fled in a vehicle. Anna explained that she had put her phone down after our conversation to make some food, which is why she didn't respond to my calls. A few minutes later, she heard a commotion upstairs. It's a horrifying thought, but I can't help but wonder what would have happened if I hadn't noticed the man in her Snapchat. The other night, I was having trouble falling asleep and feeling quite bored. I decided to pass some time by browsing Snapchat stories. While going through them, I noticed someone had added me as a friend. As many Snapchat users know, the app has a significant problem with bots, and usually when someone adds me, it's a scammer trying to get me to send them money. I don't know how they find my account, but somehow they do. The account that added me had no Bitmoji, which immediately made me suspicious. I added it back and checked its snap score, which was low, indicating that it was probably a bot account. As I waited for it to send me a message, I began to wonder what would happen if I video called it. Would it be a random call center, a black screen, or perhaps a pre-recorded video? Curiosity got the better of me, so I called it, and to my surprise, it answered immediately. However, all I could see was someone's thumb pressed against the camera. After a few seconds of silence, I heard a blood-curdling scream from the other end of the call. It sounded like someone was in pain, which frightened me, so I quickly ended the call. Seconds later, the account sent me my full address and a picture of my Bitmoji on the Snap map. I immediately regretted sharing my location and felt my stomach twist into knots. I grabbed a baseball bat and turned on Netflix to distract myself. Every time I heard a car drive by, I felt uneasy. After getting out of bed, I spent 30 minutes looking out of the window. Then, a black Toyota stopped in front of my house. At that moment, I received a Snapchat from a purple account, indicating it was a video. I didn't want to watch it, so I immediately removed the account. When I turned back to the car, I heard someone tampering with the lock of my front door. Within seconds, the person opened the door and entered my home. I live alone, and no one else has a spare key, so I knew this was a stranger. I quickly locked my bedroom door and pushed my desk in front of it, trying not to make any noise. I called the police, who instructed me to stay on the line with them until they arrived. I heard the intruder walking outside my room, and then the footsteps approached my bedroom door. My heart was racing, but the police operator told me to remain quiet. The intruder managed to disengage the lock and pushed the door, but the desk prevented them from entering. Finally, I heard distant sirens, followed by the intruder's running footsteps back outside. As I peered out of the window, I spotted a hooded figure slipping into a black Toyota before driving away. The police were already parked outside, so I removed the barricade from my door and went to talk to them. They asked me a few questions, which I answered to the best of my ability. I inquired about the Snapchat account, so I added it back to my account. The video was still available, so we played it. It showed the front door of my house, and it confirmed that the intruder owned the account. The police suspected that this was a kidnapping attempt, and the account owner was adding random people in hopes of locating them using their Snap Map location. I had never heard of accounts doing such things, and it made me reconsider all the accounts I had added back on the app. I deactivated my Snap Map and uninstalled the app from my phone. Unfortunately, the police were unable to trace the account back to anyone, so the culprit is still at large.